The scientific method has revolutionized our understanding of the universe. It has allowed us to probe the depths of space, unravel the secrets of life, and harness the power of the atom. Through observation, experimentation, and rigorous analysis, we have made incredible strides in fields like physics, chemistry, and biology. Nevertheless, the scientific method is committed to the assumption that only empirical observations has the power to distinguish what is real and what is not. The problem is that for the scientific method to work, researchers must establish some form of relationship between observable variables. For example, some scholars argue that an attitude consists of an object, evaluations, and a tendency, and that subjects do not have an attitude before they encounter and evaluate something. However, the scientific method only captures the observable aspects of phenomena and struggles to capture the full spectrum of reality. In this manner, the scientific method, with its emphasis on measurable variables, treats the lived experience as a mere byproduct of causalities. But it is not self-evident that objects, evaluations, and tendencies are essential to the attitude phenomenon, and we are left wondering if there is more to us than meets the eye. While it is correct that our minds are affected by what we encounter, the scientific method ignores that the subject is at the same time positing the world as an intentional object. In other words, the world we can experience is a world that we first have to think about. Therefore, empirical variables and statistical measure have no ontological value because they say nothing about the lived experience that constitutes our life-world realities. To understand the world, we must venture beyond the constraints of the scientific method. We do so by acknowledging that in the final analysis, the scientific method is grounded in our capacity to experience. Therefore, to understand what it means for something to be real, we must examine the lived experience according to which the world manifests. This is where phenomenology, a philosophical movement that emerged in the 20th century, offers a valuable new lens. Edmund Husserl, a German philosopher, is considered the father of phenomenology. He argued that the scientific method, while undeniably powerful, was inherently limited in its ability to grasp the essence of conscious experience. Husserl believed that science, in its quest for objective truth, often overlooks the constitutive aspect of reality, our subjective experience of it. In this connection, Husserl proposed a radical shift in perspective that he called the epoche. In the epoche, the phenomenological researcher suspends the scientific belief in objectivity and assumes the perspective that there is no other world than the one experienced in my experiences. The epoche is an invitation to set aside the Newtonian assumptions that reality is governed by laws of cause and effect, and instead try to understand the world as it is experienced. Husserl's call was for a return to the things themselves, not as objects dissected by scientific instruments, but as phenomena encountered in the immediacy of lived experience. This shift in perspective, from the objective to the subjective, opened up a whole new avenue for understanding the human condition. Section 4. The Exile of Consciousness, a scientific blind spot. For centuries, the dominant worldview, heavily influenced by Newtonian physics, treated the universe as a giant deterministic machine. In this mechanistic view, consciousness was often seen as an inconvenient anomaly, a mysterious byproduct of matter in motion. This perspective led to what some philosophers have called the exile of consciousness from the scientific worldview. Subjective experiences, with their messy, qualitative nature, were deemed too unreliable, too difficult to quantify and measure, to be included in the objective pursuit of scientific truth. Psychology, in its attempt to establish itself as a rigorous science, often adopted a similar approach, focusing primarily on observable behaviors and measurable physiological responses. While this approach has yielded valuable insights, it has also led to a somewhat impoverished view of the human psyche, neglecting the richness and complexity of our inner lives. Section 5. Quantum Whispers, Echoes of Phenomenology. Interestingly, in the realm of physics itself, a revolution was brewing that would challenge the very foundations of the classical deterministic worldview. Quantum theory, with its strange and counterintuitive principles, revealed a universe far less predictable and far more intertwined with the act of observation than anyone had imagined. Werner Heisenberg's uncertainty principle demonstrated that the act of observing a quantum system inevitably affects the system being observed. This realization cast doubt on the ideal of a purely objective observer, separate and detached from the world being studied. Similarly, Erwin Schrödinger's famous thought experiment, often referred to as Schrödinger's cat, highlighted the role of the observer in determining reality. In the quantum world, it seemed, reality was not a fixed, pre-existing entity, but was, in a sense, brought into being through the act of observation. These mind-bending concepts from quantum physics, while emerging from a completely different domain of inquiry, had intriguing parallels with the insights of phenomenology. Both pointed towards a more nuanced understanding of the relationship between observer and observed, subject and object, consciousness and reality. Section 6. A universe of experience, embracing the first-person perspective. We find ourselves at a fascinating crossroads in the history of ideas. The scientific method, with its emphasis on objectivity and empirical observation, has brought us an incredibly long way in understanding the universe and our place in it. Yet, there is a growing recognition that a purely objective lens, while essential, is not sufficient to capture the fullness of reality, particularly the reality of human experience. Phenomenology, with its focus on lived experience, offers a valuable counterpoint. It reminds us that the universe is not just a collection of inert matter, but is also a realm of experience, a tapestry woven from the threads of countless subjective realities. Each individual, with their unique perspective, contributes to this ever-evolving tapestry. To truly understand the human condition, to unravel the mysteries of consciousness, and to address the complex challenges facing our species, we need a more holistic perspective, one that honors both the objective and the subjective, the outer and the inner, the scientific and the phenomenological. For it is in the space between these seemingly disparate realms, in the dynamic interplay between observer and observed, that the true richness of reality unfolds.